If you were no longer affected by the judgment of others and you stopped judging yourself, would you make different choices? Why make choices in your life based on judgments instead of on your awareness of what would create the life and living you desire? Everyone has the potency to make inspired choices. Get ready to listen, share, and experience the creativity that is you. Now, here is the host of Inspired Choices Radio Show, Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on A2Zen.fm.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's show. We're having a little technical issue, but how does it get any better than this? I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm very excited to have a wonderful guest with me tonight. And we're going to be talking about, it's kind of a spin-off of last week, really diving in more about who we're really being. So last week I actually had Blossom Benedict on, and the topic was you get to be you. And it was such a fun show, and it really started to expand even more around this whole idea of being ourselves, which may, if you're new to my radio show and you've not heard about Access Consciousness, this may sound very, very odd. But stick with us, because it'll get odder, and then it'll start to make sense. Let's see, hopefully. So tonight, who am I really being? And my guest is Rioha Fortner. And before I bring Rioha on, just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a possibilities coach, and working with you, we will co-create the living and loving you desire with all the possibilities available in the universe. I am an Access Consciousness certified facilitator, a BARS facilitator, possibilities coach, energy healer, radio show host and producer, and so much more. I have fun being different. Are you willing to be different? My programs assist you in bringing more possibilities to actualization. Are you ready to claim what you desire? You can connect with me to learn more. Now, I do charge for my services, but the first 5 minutes are always free. So ask yourself, what are you ready for now? And what mystery would you like to unravel? So who am I really being? We're seeing so many people talking about being you. Well, who have I been? What does that really mean? And how do I know who I am being? And when will I know I am really being me? Those are some of the questions that came up in my world when I first started to look at this. And it was quite confusing to me, but it doesn't need to be. And tonight with Rioha, we're going to start to unravel this. So Rioha Fortner is a transformational coach, inspirational speaker. She's also a radio show host here on A to Zen. She has a show called Simply Being with Rioha. She's an Access Consciousness certified facilitator who is driven to invite individuals and organizations to ask questions that will bring more ease, simplicity, and joy into their life. Rioha lives her life full speed ahead and has the natural ability to see the gifts and beauty in those around her. And she's someone who believes in the ability of anyone to choose more in their lives. She invites clients to ask questions that will begin to enhance life, business, and relationships in a way that they may not have experienced before. She has a way of looking at the world and choosing how she wants to be in it, and then she is that and invites others to do the same. In her life, Rioha has experienced almost every form of abuse and trauma a person can. She has also known that there are more possibilities, and each time she has picked herself up, dusted herself off, and taken another step forward, knowing that there was a joyful life for her. She was told that she would always be on medication, and yet she refused to doubt that there were other possibilities. She found and created them, and now she shares what she has learned with others, knowing that they too can have a life filled with joy and ease and limitless possibilities. Rioha has impacted thousands with her inspirations and tale of choosing a life that works for her, refusing to be a victim, for continually striving to trust her knowing and to do what works for her regardless of the choices, judgments, and conclusions of others. She lives out loud in joy and knows that everyone can have the life that they would like to have, and she knows it doesn't have to look like hers. I'm so thrilled to have you with me, Rioha. thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm just feeling really joyful right now. This is really fun.
Well, it's so interesting in this time and space, in this reality, where we are having so many people are stepping forward and saying, I get to choose for me, I get to choose for me, I get to be me, I get to do it my way. And yet I've been seeing that there's been, nearly at the same time, a great insurgence of people being even more strong in their judgments. It's like the more that we're choosing forward, the more that they're getting louder, or a lot more people being very confused, being very overwhelmed by what they should be choosing, as if they're looking for the right answer.
I think that right there, I think has been some of the things that have held me back the most, is looking for the right answer and thinking that I already know what the answer is before I ask the question. And I think sometimes as we become, I wonder if it's more, or is it that just we notice it more, the more we're learning to be authentic ourselves and really truly embodying who we are. Is it that we're just more aware of the judgment because we know it's not ours, and before we thought all of it was ours? I wonder if that could be part of it. Not that there's necessarily more, but we're just more aware because we've been able to differentiate what belongs to us and the judgments that don't. Oh.
Well, and how much of this is we haven't been able to differentiate between who am I being? Like, who am I? I mean...
Can I tell on myself?
Yes.
So, I don't know if you remember, I called you kind of in, just like, I was having a moment. Christine is one of my go-to people. I just trust her so much to be really present with me when I've got something going on. And I'm like, and I'm being so unauthentic because I'm called Simply Being, and I'm not Simply Being. And you said, well, you're simply being pathetic right now.
Oh, my God. That is so funny. Carol says, burn.
It was right on. I was simply being. I was being totally authentically pathetic in that moment. And it was so true that I just had to laugh, and it was like, oh, simply being doesn't have to look a certain way either, does it? Simply being can look like simply being pathetic in that moment. So with that said, if you're simply being pathetic, that can be an authentic moment for you. And do you want to stay there, or do you want to get out of it? And so I wanted to get out of it, so I called Christine.
If you'd like me to call you on your shit, just call me. My number is 1-800. Are you ready for an ass kicking?
Apparently I was, because it made me laugh.
But you know what? How much of now, I was just on with Cara, right, an hour ago on her show, and that was so much fun. What was the title of that show? Oh, somebody's going to remember in the chat room, and then we'll say it. But it was all around what we make significant, right? And so how much were you making whatever was going on significant?
Oh, I'm the queen of that. That's why I'm such a good coach, because I've been there, done it.
Oh, my God. And everywhere that you've bought the lie, Rioha, and any other coaches out there, that you have to actually be it before you can help, assist, guide, inspire, lead, suggest someone into being more of them. Can we please destroy and uncreate all of that times a godzillion?
Absolutely.
Right, wrong, good, bad, puck, pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. Thank you, Carol. Cara's show was Don't Get Your Panties in a Bunch, Just Go Commando. Oh, my gosh, that was so much fun.
It was. I caught the tail end of it, and it was very fun. So, yes, and I think that's what, I think part of being, really just being, I think, is acknowledging, first of all, where you're at. And because if you're not willing to acknowledge whatever's coming up for you, and what, like, and if it is like, wow, I'm being pathetic right now, you can't shift it or change it or ask a question, because you've bought somewhere this lie that's who you are, and when you don't like what that is, and then you shove it away or toss it in a corner or put it under the bed or, take all your attention away from it, it just gets to go, and I kind of think of this like mold, and it becomes impossible to deal with something you refuse to look at.
Right.
And you don't have to define it, but you have to be willing to acknowledge, hey, I am kind of playing in the pathetic pile poo of right now, and do I want to change this? And I think it's a great place to start, is acknowledging where you are. And then that's part of being.
Yeah, and that's over 3/4 of the way there to changing it, because your willingness, all you need is the willingness to look at it.
Yes.
Just the willingness can begin to shift it. And I often say it's like you're so hard tied to something, and the minute you acknowledge, oh, wow, what's going on here, the knots start to come undone. And
yes.
it starts to lighten. And then you can actually be open to somebody being silly with you like I was, Rioha. And you can actually start to, you don't have to, quote unquote, do anything necessarily, but you can begin to become unattached from the heaviness of it. And then you can start to really acknowledge and recognize, hey, you know what, I'm not really being who I want to be. So this can be, you can be angry, you can be pathetic, like Rioha was talking about, you can be forceful, you can be controlling. Anything that's heavy is a lie. And anything that's heavy for you can be a signal that you're not being you. And that can be just the beginning grounds of looking at where you've bought into the lies, where you've bought into the judgments, where you've bought into the shoulds of this reality, and begin to, really look at who am I being, or who would I like to be, and start to create your life in such a different way. So we're going to go for a break in just a moment. If you would like to call in, we would love to take your questions. Both Rioha and I have definitely played in the ground of pathetic and silly and probably anger and all sorts of different crazy spaces. And we would love to, if at all possible, be a contribution to you. So the call-in numbers in the U.S. are 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. In the UK, 033-000-10625, or you can Skype us at a2zen.fm. And if you're listening and you would like to come and ask a question in the chat room, but you're too shy to call in, you just come to a2zen.fm/chat room and come and play. And it's always amazing what gets created in that chat room. And if you would like to connect with Rioha, you can do so at rioha.com. That's spelled RIOHA.com. And when we come back from break, we are going to find out where Rioha is and what Rioha is creating in the world. And then we'll get back into this amazing topic that I think I'm actually doing this show for me, Rioha. I don't know about you, but oftentimes the shows that I create are equally for me as for the listeners, because I'm willing to look at it, and I really do want to shift some of these things.
Oh, all of my shows are for me, and I'm just glad that I get to share them with people, because I do know it makes a difference. But don't call in and talk to us, because that wouldn't be any fun for us or you. So just don't do it. Don't do it at all.
Rioha doesn't manipulate at all, you guys. Don't listen to her. Who, me? Cute little old me. Okay, so stay tuned, everyone. You're listening to Inspired Choices with Christine and Rioha and a2zen.fm. We will be back right after these short commercial breaks.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning into Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that when run assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bars session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
Being visible, being social, being heard. What desires are you ready to create? Would you like to take the next step to creating a potent presence on the web? Would it create more possibilities and expansion in your life? BeingVisible.ca offers website, social media, radio show creation, and more. Creating with consciousness, bringing the energy of you to your audience. Are you ready to connect with your audience clearly, regularly, and with ease? Christine McIver and Carol Glover work with individuals and organizations to create a powerful presence on the web. Personal attention and one-on-one training creates the ease with expanding you. Are you ready? Connect today at beingvisible.ca.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program today, please call toll-free in the U.S. 815-880-8255, TALK, or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us. Our Skype name is a2zen.fm. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Inspired Choices Radio. I'm your host, Christine McIver, and I have a wonderful guest with me tonight, Rioha Fortner. And tonight, Rioha and I are talking about how we all are looking at ourselves and who am I really being? And before the break, we were talking about one time when Rioha called me up and she asked for a little bit of assistance because she was judging herself. And she said, I'm not simply being, which is the radio of her show. And I said, well, you're simply being pathetic. and we laughed, and it started to shift things. So how many of you out there would be willing to start laughing a little bit more so things would start to shift?
Me.
me.
That's one of the things I really have found bypasses. Bypasses almost any other tool. Is if I can laugh at myself or just laugh at the situation, it just dispenses so much energy that I'm like, what was I upset about anyway? What was the problem? And I can't even remember half the time.
Yeah, and so if we really do begin to laugh and we bring in the energy, some other energies to lighten it a little bit, you do get into that space of what was I so upset about? Why was this so significant? Yeah, and why do we get? I'm going to tell a story. I can't believe I'm going to tell this story. So if you've been an avid listener of my show, you know that I was married at one time, and when I was married to this individual, everything that he did, he breathed, I was angry, and it was very significant. And when we ended our marriage, which was quite a long time ago, he would still get under my skin with such ease. It wasn't even funny. And I could just be chewing on that for weeks. And I actually became that story. Everybody knew that's they would ask me, how are you, just getting ready for a story about how he continued to, make my life a living hell. And then when I finally decided to pull my head out of my ass and realize that I was creating this and I was choosing this and I kept buying the story and telling the story and I kept making everything significant, it began to shift. And really funny, because it's been probably a good year and a half, that I've barely even spoken to him, that he's barely even jumped into my awareness. And long story short, he wanted some help with something, and he called me. When did he call me? 2 nights ago, I think it was, and asked me, and I'm like, yeah, okay, like, it wasn't a big deal. Whatever. He was looking for some assistance on computer, and that's one of my potencies. And so I said, yeah, sure. And when I called back, when I was available, after it was late Monday night after the all-day radio, he was asleep. And he chose to do something that would make him go to sleep. And I was just like, wow, that's an interesting choice. You call me, and then you choose to do something that puts you to sleep. And I just went, okay, moving on. And honestly, I would have, probably called until he answered the phone and screamed at him in the past. And it would have been very significant. And then I just was like, okay, that's done. And he called again the next day and asked for, could I call him back? And he apologized. I'm so sorry I fell asleep. But I knew what more was going on, and I didn't. And I chose not to allow that to affect me, to impact me, or to really take any of my joy out of my life. Rioha, are you there?
I am here. Yeah, I was just really enthralled with your story. I was like, oh. Kind of hypnotized. Gosh, I was just, where I went was all the places that I've so enjoyed making things significant. But I want that, so we were talking, I kind of went into this whole spacey place where I was like, oh, I become this little kid who just, I just almost saw myself kind of stop on my feet, but I want it to be significant because then it matters, and then I can make it mean something, and then I can feel something, and then I'm not bored, and all these stories and lies that I've got wrapped up to what significance is. It was really interesting, and I kind of zoned out there. So,
but that's kind of like what the founder of Access Consciousness, Gary Douglas, often says: is if we're not creating our lives, we will actually create shit.
Yes.
Right. So.
Oh yes. Yes.
All the places and spaces where you're creating shit by the significance of insanities, instead of creating the joy and making another choice that would be expansive for you and the universe, can we please destroy and uncreate all that times a godzillion?
Absolutely.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pock, pot, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Ooh. And all the places and spaces that you're judging yourself for the shit that you created instead of laughing at your silliness, can we destroy and uncreate all that times a godzillion?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Can I get an amen? Right, wrong,
amen,
good, bad.
Praise
right, wrong,
Jesus.
good, bad, pot, pot, Can I get an amen? Can I get a witness?
Woo, praise to Jesus.
What would Jesus do?
Or the Jesus. We can praise the Jesus too. All of
praise the Jesus. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, wow.
I want to, I'd love to share what yesterday. So yesterday, I had a early appointment for me, and it was supposed to snow, and so I was driving out because I was meeting my client at their workplace, and I got to my car and I noticed. At first, I thought it was a ticket, but it was just a notice saying my tags were expired, and they expired in December. It's now March, so I'm like, oh dang.
Oh, what will that choice create?
How awesome that I have yet to get a ticket. I've made myself invisible to police. Yay. And then I had no gas. So I was like, what would it take to get to my appointment with no gas? And I managed. In fact, I got there early, so I was able to fill up my tank before I even showed up. And then I had this really, really important meeting with this women's group I belong to, and it went really well, beyond my expectations. And we were really going through a tough transition as a group, and so I was instrumental in kind of working through that in this really beautiful way. And I love these women; they're just amazing. And then it was over late. We got in at 2:30. I was like, I wonder how long it's going to take me. Like, if I go get my emissions tested and I go to the DMV real quick, how long this will take me. So I got to the emissions, and this whole time I'm just kind of giggling, right? Like, I didn't make any of it important. I was just kind of curious the whole day. I was in and out of the emissions testing place in 15 minutes, and I don't know if you have that in Canada or
yes.
those of you who know much about it, but that's like unheard of.
Yeah.
So then I go over to the DMV, and I have my new tags within 15 minutes. Now, unfortunately, the gentleman forgot to give me the month tag. He just gave me the year tag, so I had to stand back in line, and that took another 20 minutes. But I was giggling because even with standing back in line, it was shortest trip to the emissions and DMV I have ever had. And I kept asking, how does it get better than this? And I was kind of just giggling. People were looking at me funny. I was taking pictures. And later I was like, wow, this could have been like a really icky day. And instead, I actually had fun. I had so much fun in the crazy busy day, jam-packed with activity that normally would have sent me into this impatient spin. And instead, I just kind of giggled my way through it. And I came home feeling so happy. And it's because I didn't make any of it important, and I didn't even realize that till later.
But you made a conscious choice.
Yes, I did. But I did realize how happy I was till later. I was just being it. I don't know if that makes sense. I hadn't involved my mind in any of that. I was just being it.
But there was a few days before when, I don't know when it was that you and I connected. Was it a week ago? I have no idea.
Yeah, it was probably 5 to 6 days before when I was playing pathetic.
Right.
Yes.
But you began to make a conscious choice then to change it.
Yes. Yes,
and
but not necessarily a cognitive choice, and I think there's an important distinction there.
Go on, talk about that.
So conscious choice meaning something that you're opening your whole being to consciousness, being your knowing, your infinite being. Cognitive being putting your mind in charge of it,
right?
And letting it define what that means. And so it was a conscious choice, but it wasn't necessarily a cognitive. It started out with a cognitive thought, oh, this needs to change.
Right.
But I allowed my consciousness to do it, and I didn't give my mind too much power over it, because it would have come to all these conclusions about what that was supposed to look like. So I just wanted to, that's something I've been really looking at, is the difference between the cognitive mind and the conscious mind or choices.
Right.
So, yeah.
And you know, even if your mind does get involved in it, if you are saying to yourself, okay, I want to change this. I want to change this. I want to choose to be happy, even when you're not in whatever patheticness that you are in, anger, whatever, and you continue to, say, I want to change this. I want to change this. What would it take to change this? And you begin to move into that direction, and you start to ask some questions like, what can I be or do different today to bring more joy into my life?
Yes.
When making that conscious choice, you do start to be more present with who you're being. And even if you're in the middle of your big, old, sloppy patheticness, you will be more aware that you're being sloppy and pathetic.
Yes, totally.
Like,
and that's empowering. It's a potency. It's a gift to be aware of where you're at. It's a muscle. It's like there are so many people in the world that when they think, I really believe that they think that if they look at that stuff, they're going to create more of it. And so instead they hide it away and they push it away and they lie to themselves instead of just, it's more empowering to look at those places and choose something rather than just buying into the victim of it and they creating more of it by pushing it away. Mm-hmm. It's like a little kid, you've seen those little, like they want mom's attention and they yank on her skirt, mommy, 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 mommy,
oh,
mommy,
God.
mommy, 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 mommy.
Oh, God,
well,
stop.
I think that's what lies do. I think when we're lying to ourselves or we're believing a lie, it's that. And when we finally look down and say, oh, hey, I see you. What do you want? What do you need? What do you require here? How can I change this? It stops the noise.
Right.
And I think we make it really difficult. I don't think it needs to be.
Right.
And you know me. Sometimes I'm the queen of that, and other times I'm the queen of simply being. And it's a muscle. And I don't think there's a place to get. I think it's something we just continually get deeper and deeper deeper in our muscle, deeper level in our being, and to the point we don't have to think about it. And we can just be it.
Okay, so Carol has a statement that she's made in the chat room, and I would love to understand what she's saying here, because I think there's something in it. She said, I find the law of attraction thinking and wording makes people hide that stuff. Carol, what do you mean, what stuff are they hiding? And if you would come online live, if you feel comfortable tonight, that would be great, or just type it in the chat room, whichever you... Oh, there she is.
Yeah, I'm here as long as the noise doesn't come around. For me, what I've sort of become aware of is that with the law of attraction, you're not allowed. I'll say, those aren't the right words, but to say anything negative, because then you're attracting more negative stuff to you.
Right.
So I see people who are practicing that bury those thoughts, feelings, and emotions that they're trying to overcome. They're burying them and trying to ignore them rather than just facing them and choosing beyond them.
Right. So they're kind of like putting blinders on. Is that what you mean?
Not even blinders. They're just stuffing it away, like hiding it under the carpet.
So if I stuff it away, it's not actually occurring.
Right.
Yeah, and it's very, very funny how we've, the law of attraction has been a huge contribution for us all looking at these things, because there's been a great contribution of us stepping forward in using their tools, and then we started to look at, okay, where is it not working? And what else is possible? And the tools that the three of us use with Access Consciousness have, for us and for thousands of people all around the world, really started to unlock this even faster, and it stays gone. And one of the best things that you can do is actually get your bars run. So Carol had an amazing show this morning on A to Zen. Carol does the Clumsy Girl's Guide to Greatness, and it was all about the bars. And it was a fantastic show. So if you really would like more information about the bars, go catch that replay. It was fantastic. But when we get our bars run, what we start to do is we start to dissipate the lies that we've bought into in this lifetime and many other lifetimes. And it starts to allow us to have the space to create from who we really be. And I think for me personally, that was one of the greatest gifts about receiving the bars and having my bars run and running bars on other people, is it really begin to unlock me from the lies that I had bought into and the massive amounts of self-judgment that really, I don't know how I've lasted this many years in my life. I don't know about you, Rioha, but it's fundamentally gobsmacking, to tell you the truth.
Oh, I had so much noise in my head, and I most of the time I couldn't even hear me. I didn't know which one of the voices was mine.
Yeah.
So and actually before I found Access, I luckily found some tools that helped me to a point that I think I could even receive Access, if that makes sense. Before Access. I spent years searching, and I found something to help me get off meds. And one of this little trick called anchoring, but I had so much negative self-talk that I created this thing that as soon as that voice in my head started, I played a song in my head that would overpower the voice. And eventually I didn't need it anymore. And that was great. But what I didn't realize is there was still that judgment. It just wasn't that it wasn't as loud.
Right.
It was much more subtle. And Access is really, I think that's the biggest thing for me that I've received from Access tools and actually using them is that self-judgment piece has really gone away for the most part. And I still judge myself, but I don't go into that judgment spiral is what I call it.
Right.
Where you judge yourself and then you judge yourself for judging yourself and then you judge yourself because you shouldn't have judged yourself for judging yourself.
Oh, God.
And then it becomes this like little tsunami of judgment based on the fact you're judging, and it's
I know.
It's crazy. And now I'll be like, wow, I'm really judging myself right now. I don't have to do that anymore. And then if it's still there, I go, I guess I'm going to do it until I don't. And what's it going to take for me to stop it?
Right.
And so it becomes a place to ask questions rather than continuing the self-abuse of judgment,
Yeah. And the tools of Access Consciousness, what I really enjoy about them is, and Gary Douglas, the founder, and Dr. Jane here, the co-founder, they will tell you, use what works for you. They don't have a point of view that you have to do it a certain way. There's not a system that you have to do. They offer lots of different tools, lots of different body processes, and they invite you into seeing what works for you. Yeah. And like Carol said, tools and modalities work to a point, and then we seekers still look for more because something is still not quite sitting right. And she goes on to say, and maybe Access will be the same for us. Maybe it will, and maybe it won't. But what I can say for me personally and for the clients that I work with is these tools have changed everything that has kept them locked down, and especially, as Rioha, as you've said, is in the judgment. Because, we really are all infinite beings. And would an infinite being judge itself? No. So we're going to go for a break. And when we come back, I'm going to remember this time to ask you, Rioha, all about what you do and where you do it and what you're creating. So if I forget again, because, I got a short memory, you have to remind me, or one of my amazing producers can please remind me. So you are listening to Inspired Choices Radio on AZN.FM, and we are talking with Rioha Fortner, and we are talking about who am I really being? We will continue this lively conversation when we come back from break, so please stay tuned.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning into Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that when run assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bars session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
Being visible, being social, being heard. What desires are you ready to create? Would you like to take the next step to creating a potent presence on the web? Would it create more possibilities and expansion in your life? BeingVisible.ca offers website, social media, radio show creation, and more. Creating with consciousness, bringing the energy of you to your audience. Are you ready to connect with your audience clearly, regularly, and with ease? Christine McIver and Carol Glover work with individuals and organizations to create a powerful presence on the web. Personal attention and one-on-one training creates the ease with expanding you. Are you ready? Connect today at beingvisible.ca.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program today, please call toll-free in the U.S. 815-880-8255, TALK, or Canada, 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us. Our Skype name is a2zen.fm. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Christine with Inspired Choices, and tonight we are speaking to one of my peeps that I've known for just under 2 years, Rioha Fortner, and Rioha is the host of her own radio show here on A to Zen on Mondays at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time called Simply Being with Rioha. So Rioha, before we went to the break, both the last break and this break, I said I was going to ask you what you do, where you do it, what are you offering, what are you creating in the world. So please tell all of our listeners, please.
Oh my gosh, what I do. I do so many things. So let's see. So I have a business called Rioha Transformational Consulting. And I have been creating some fun little, one of the things I'm really excited about is called a nature walk and a conscious talk. And
now you got to say that again and slow down because you said it really fast.
It's called a nature walk and a conscious talk. And I meet people at and I'm in Denver, Colorado. I meet people at the Denver Botanic Gardens, and they get free admission. And we go for a walk through the gardens. And one of the things I've noticed is when I'm in nature, I can pick up that vibration, and it seems much easier to just be, because the plants aren't judging me. I'm not judging the plants. There's an amazing quality to being around. And in the city, we've created this oasis here in Denver of the Botanic Gardens, and it's just this wonderful thing. And I'll take clients, and we take a walk. And while we're walking, I start asking questions like, "What would you like to get out of this?" And what's going on with you right now? And I don't use a lot of formal language. Sometimes I don't even do the clearing statements out loud. Sometimes I just do them in my head, and we simply have a conversation. And the conversation starts to change things. And when I find that they're going into their head or they're starting to go into judgments, I ask them to connect with one of the plants or the flowers or the water that's there and just be for a moment. And it really, it changes things so dynamically. And it creates needs for those who really don't necessarily like to be in an office setting. I find a lot of people get really, sit down here, let's have this discussion, and let's be. Some people find that intimidating, and this is just being. And something about walking in nature, it just creates an ease. The other thing I've created is, I don't really have a name for it, but it's, do you know you're beautiful? And one of the gifts I've been told I have is people, when they're around me, they see their gifts even more strongly, and they feel beautiful around me because that's how I see them. And I have a great capacity with things like how people walk, how they hold themselves, even makeup and skincare to clothing. And so sometimes changing your walk, changing something about how you dress, sometimes just getting rid of the noise that keeps you from knowing how beautiful you are helps you be beautiful. And so one of my friends actually suggested, she goes, I know so many women who are beautiful who don't know it, and you're so good at making the women around you feel beautiful. And she goes, what if you started putting this into your practice? And I thought it was brilliant, so I started incorporating it.
I have a question for you.
Yes, absolutely.
When you're being pathetic, do you ever use that tool for you?
No, because that would make sense.
Burn.
I know. Yeah. See, I am such a humanoid.
Yes, you are, darling.
I have these amazing capacities. I mean, truly, like my daughter one time yelled at me because she goes, "Mom, you know how you can just be around people and they start to feel better and you don't even have to do anything and everybody gets happy just because you're in the room?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she's yelling at me. She goes, "Well, you do the same thing when you're mad, so stop it."
Ooh, how brilliant is she?
I was like, oh, wow. And she's the one who taught me I had that capacity to even, because I started playing that around with her with it. And she's like, "Mom, I don't know what you did, but I was really mad." And all of a sudden, because I invited her energetically, I went into joy. I just chose it, just like that. I said, I'm done with this upset we're having between us, chose joy. And then I pushed it at her. And it just expanded out really big, expanded the joy all through her and out through the whole room I was in. And she goes, Mom, what did you just do? Because I'm not mad anymore. And it was beautiful. And that I started playing with it. It was about 3 years ago. And our children can be such great instructors for us. And I think we all, the thing is, if you see, this is, sorry, I get so excited. If you see something amazing, in somebody, you have it. You have it.
Say that again. Say that again.
If you see something or notice something amazing about someone else, the reason you can see it is because you are that too, you know? And I get really excited, but I forget it for myself. I'm the first one to champion my clients. And do I do it to myself? Sometimes. Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, sometimes I'm that for myself too. Not as much as I would like, and that's changing too. But one of the reasons I even came up with Simply Being is I had this month where everything was such ease and joy in my whole life, and not what was happening around me, but me. It didn't matter where I was, there was this ease and joy, and I realized I'm simply being myself in a way I've never allowed before. And that's where the show stemmed from, because I realized it's easy. It's like breathing. It's so easy, but then we get our bodies and our minds out of sync, and we start getting caught up into all the lies when it can really, truly, simply be.
You know what I love about what you've just said? The words popped out at me when you were talking, is that you were being something that you had never allowed yourself to be.
Yes.
And I've heard you say it before, but it's so strong right now for me. You never allowed it. So it really is about our willingness to allow ourselves to be in more joy, in more play, in more pleasure, in more possibilities. It's allowance. It's allowance of ourselves, whether we're pathetic or not. It's being in allowance of having more of us in a way that we've never had before. And if that scares the shit out of you, cool. Because change and growth makes us uncomfortable. And if you're not uncomfortable at least once a day, you are likely in unconsciousness. So if anybody that's listening now or in the future, if you get uncomfortable, like Rioha did, like I do, like so many of the people that I know get uncomfortable because they're demanding more, please know that you're so close to the top of that mountain. You're so close. Never give up. I was in Alouette Cosmetics for many, many years, and the woman that was the president of our franchise, she actually gave me this never give up plaque. And it talks about, just when you want to give up, you're so close to the top. And when you are in that uncomfortable space, that's when you are so close to moving beyond and lean into it. There's lots of different words that people use, but all I want to say to you is don't give up on you.
Yeah, when I called you, I literally had, and I shared this with you, and I'm in a place now I'm totally willing to be vulnerable with this, but I was like, I was feeling very hypocritical and pathetic, and I really, I didn't want to be on the planet anymore. And things I've been asking for change, I felt stuck, nothing was changing, and I knew that wasn't true because it's like, the tools I have, but it was such an but it was time to reach out and say to someone, this is where I'm at right in this moment. I know it's not true. So, and since then, I am looking for a space right now to give a talk, and I'm going to invite everyone that I know. I'm going to call them all on the phone and send emails and stuff, and I'm going to talk about my journey. I'm going to talk about getting off medication and some of the abuse and things, and not from a place of that's what's important for me, but from a place of, hey, if I can shift these things, so can you. And I started a new little business that has taken off like gangbusters. I'm getting out of the house more. You challenged me that for a full week to do, who does this belong to, and I've been doing it, and it's crazy how awesome that tool is that I forgot.
Shit, I'm brilliant.
You are. You're fantastic. Stupid people. If you need someone to be hey, stop being pathetic with kindness and in your face, call Christina. She is an an amazing facilitator. We did this in 15 minutes, people. My life changed in 15 minutes. And since then, I've been able to go out and I'm creating again, and I feel alive in my body again, and I'm joyful again. And it's sometimes, I don't care where we're at. I've heard Dane and Gary say that they get to the place sometimes where they're like done with the planet. And it's usually right before a big breakthrough, and that's why I'm sharing this. It goes right into what you've been saying. You know, if you are that uncomfortable, we're ready to jump off the planet, you know, reach out and ask for assistance from someone that you know is going to be present with you, and really look at what's going on with you energetically, who has amazing tools and skills. And someone like Christine, and even someone like me, because I'm really good at what I do. And
yeah, you are.
I am. I change people's lives in 5 minutes, and then they don't need to hire me.
You're so funny.
Sometimes I'm like, maybe I need to be less good at what I do. No, I'm just kidding. But I am so what's the word? It's beyond passion. Gratitude, thank you. I'm so gratitude for these tools and for the fact I'm willing to step in and be a leader and begin to really invite people to whatever they're choosing, even if it's pathetic. Because there's nothing wrong with that, and it's not a judgeable offense.
No, nothing is judgeable.
Nothing is judgeable.
And how much, Rioha, with your excitement and your joy of sharing these tools and sharing your journey, how much of that actually continues to inspire you choose more each and every day? I mean, more than getting the clients and growing the business and all of that.
Yes. I look at where I was 10 years ago, and then I look back 20 years ago, and I'm like, I don't even look the same. I don't look I mean, in some ways I do. I look younger than I ever have. And I feel younger than I ever have. But I'm so different in my body. I'm so different in my being. I really, even, 5 years ago, I didn't know that it was possible to have this much joy in my life. And even when things aren't going well, there's core of joy, even with all the junk and the noise, that I didn't know was possible. And the thing is, I'm just starting. Like, I've only been doing this particular work for 3 years. And I'm, like, amazed at how far I've come, and I'm amazed at how much farther I'm going to go. It's just fantastic.
It is fantastic. And there's so many opportunities out there. There's so many people all around the world, wherever you're listening from. If what we've been talking about tonight is speaking to you, if you would like to know more, please go to accessconsciousness.com. You can look in your country, you can look in your province, state, your city, and see who's out there that can be a contribution to you. And please reach out, though. It makes such a
follow the energy. Follow the energy. There's going to be someone that pops for you. Trust your knowing on who's a fit for you.
Yeah.
And just trust yourself, really.
and if you would like to, if you're in the Toronto area, or if you would like to come to the Toronto area this weekend, we are doing an amazing class. There's no prerequisites. You don't have to have had any of the access classes before coming. I have the amazing Danielle Carter here, and she's actually in my dining room right now. I don't know if she can hear me talking about her, but she's here right now, and she's flown in from Rome to be with us here in Toronto, and she's going to be doing a 2.5-day right body for you. And it's not about getting the perfect body or the sexy body. It's about being in your body and creating your body in a way that you've never been willing to do before. I'm so excited. Please go to inspiredchoices.ca or email me, Christine at inspiredchoices.ca, and we can get you all that information. We would love to have you come, even if you're just coming for the Friday night introduction here in Toronto. Thank you, Rioha. Thank you, everyone, for being with us tonight. And stay tuned. Coming up right after this show is a pre-record. It's a great show, and come back next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Inspired Choices Radio Show. Christine McIver will return next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on A2Zen.fm. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by making the choices that bring you all that you desire.